This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
My name is Lily, and I've had hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, for years. I finally found some relief since taking Cosentyx. Relief means I can show up more.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some are fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, Top 14, Pro League, National, Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, C'est Bleu, France, national teams, of course, brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, stadiums, everything that makes the French rugby experience so excellent. We're recording a little bit late on a Tuesday evening, a few life things getting in the way, but more importantly, Rob, you've had an incident. There's been a spillage in aisle Rob's flat. Rob has been involved in a very, very severe freak, I dare say, yogurt exploding accident. Rob, talk us through it.
It's the woke nonsense, Richard. It's the woke nonsense, the wokerati that have led to thinner plastics on 1 kilo tubs of yogurt to save the environment. And I put my bag down on the sofa as I normally do. It toppled over. The yogurt landed bottom first, half in the bag, half on the sofa, half on the carpet or on the rug, and exploded everywhere. Yeah. That's probably low. I mean, there's probably worse things to spill on a rug, probably better things to spill on a rug. I'm intrigued to see how the natural biocultures meld together with 7.5 years of dirt and dust from my flat. So
amazing. I wonder what the scale is where natural yogurt sits on the scale of most to least. Don't know. Probably worse.
It's not got any colour, has it? So at least it's not going to stain. Yeah. It might smell, but it's not like paprika or turmeric or oil, like chorizo oil.
Worse than spilling like a glass of white wine, but worse, but maybe more favourable than spilling, I don't know, a kilo tub of Marmite or something like that. Yeah. But Marmite haven't. I don't think they've not bended to this wokerati nonsense of having thin plastic tubs. I like the way as well. I know you've got sort of like wooden floors, right? But the yogurt has managed to track down the fabric corners.
Thick rug, yeah.
Of your flat rather than the white clean surfaces.
Quite unfortunate that. So a few towels down on the rug, see how that fares up.
Nice. Well, we look forward.
Probably a good excuse to wash it properly anyway.
In our last episode of the series next week to come back and reveal how Rob's rug is faring up.
We're on episode 49 or week 4. There's been a few bonuses in there as well. Week 49. That's should hopefully, all things barring major accident, reach the half century next week with our final episode. That's pretty good going. It just feels like a lot, but I guess we started, and these seasons drag on longer and longer each year, don't they?
They do. Shall we discuss it? The final game of the French men's season, although I think the Women's World Cup would that count as early next season? I don't know. It all sort of
generally it does,
doesn't it? France, New Zealand, Hamilton. This Test series that has had a lot of. Well, one, I can't think of too many series, maybe bar the concurrent Lions tour, where there's such conjecture, debate, narrative, hysteria over selection. But there's been some pretty good rugby in there as well. How do we?
There's a lot of carry on, isn't there? Well, there was a lot of carry on, and it carried on. Carrying on.
One thing I will say before we talk about that, I thought they looked like they did a good job. Match day vibes at Hamilton, with the exception of the stadium DJ, who was horrific.
God,
and it's a blight, and it's not just New Zealand. It is a blight on international sport more broadly. The insistence.
New Zealand are bad though. New Zealand have been bad for a while.
They're particularly bad with their music choices.
Yeah, maybe that's why it stands out. But I'm not sure why they were playing the Vengabus. Vengabus, the Vengabus is coming. I've got no idea what about a French line out in the 22 screams Vengabus is coming. But
Hey Baby was in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't think that's because I think with New Zealand, like it's always like have other than Lord, has anything like this decade reached New Zealand yet? Bear in mind, Lord is from New Zealand as well, but it's like, why is it so?
I do always remember.
Why is it so like 2001 school disco? It's not even like 2015 school disco.
There's Tim Cocker always. He definitely brought it up a couple of times years ago. It was like rugby from the future, music from the distant past. It was the sort of summary. Which also, I think that my main gripe with it is that to me, it really puts a pin in moments of atmosphere, tension that build naturally around a game. And actually, this was pretty close for large swathes. And I feel like the Vengabus does very little to kind of build that tension. But maybe
it's time and a place for Venga boys. But I don't think like post game. Yeah, I'm there for it. But I don't think halfway through the first half or whatever it's necessary. But yeah, I think it's a weird one, wasn't it? Because France were at their strongest 15/23 of the series, and New Zealand were at their weakest. And I think previously or prior to some late dropouts, they didn't have a single Barrett in the starting lineup. And I'd love to know when the previous time that it must be going back to like 2014, I reckon, because Bowden Barrett played a lot in like 2014, 2015. But when there was zero Barretts, who are three of the best players in the world, when was the last time that one of them wasn't in the starting lineup for New Zealand? And you've got kind of a few, even like on commentary about that McAllister bloke on the bench, they were like a few questions about his call up. I was like, oh, that's a bit different from the normally, what a proud moment for him and his family, blah, blah, blah. But so it was definitely a weakened New Zealand side, as we kind of hinted at. They didn't have any reserve second rows. So Tuipulotu and Holland went the full 80. Yeah, it was just, I think, quite interesting to see a weakened side in the context of the whole displeasure about France not sending their strongest side. I found that quite ironic. But it was quite a weird game, and it was the closest game, I'd say, generally, of the three in terms of the actual game. Obviously, the scoreline was much closer in the first test, but the kind of 10-point margin seemed a bit harsh, I think.
Yeah, perhaps. I think
not harsh, but like I guess it is what it is. But it's just like didn't feel that representative.
Yeah, I think, as you say, France were a lot better. I'm not sure they kind of had moments in attack, but it wasn't a particularly fluent game on either side. But I think what they did have a little bit was, perhaps more than in the last couple of games, was a little bit more control. Maybe slightly ironically with Hastoy, we'd mentioned how we felt he might, if not open things up, offer a little bit more in attack, and he probably did, but it was more his control and the Garrick as well, which I thought stood out. And actually the two kind of older heads coming back into the back line, Fiku and Villiers, I think made a real difference defensively, and that kind of scrappiness. And they defended brilliantly, didn't they? I mean, the kind of tackle stats were pretty extraordinary by the end of the game. The tackle completion was excellent. So I think in that context, maybe 10 points is a little bit harsh with the kicker, that actually they didn't offer a huge amount in the sort of second half by way of go forward, or at least a huge amount of penetration, bar a couple of loose balls that Gaiton nearly got on the end of, didn't he? It was pretty good scrag tackle.
That's unbelievable cover tackle. That you'd expect Gaiton to finish that, given he's a brilliant finisher and he's quick, but and he's got a decent amount of space, but it's a serious cover tackle. Like, it is perfectly executed, that from Geordie Barrett.
Yeah,
and I think that was all.
Doing.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of thing for me, is that France did have their opportunities, but it was almost like the real world class X Factor players had their moments for New Zealand, because they were still playing. Arnie Surveyor gets the 5 metre jackal turnover penalty. Barrett obviously has the tackle and then has the fend and sets up the try. I think Jordan's pace was like a real threat, and he's obviously finished 1 try, possibly 2, pretty easily, because he's so quick. And then it's kind of the other experienced heads that had pretty good interventions, like Mackenzie, Sevu Reece, Turpelotu, a few others. And Leonard Brown obviously scores the try. Like, it's kind of, you've got guys with over 50 tests.
Just a little bit of shimmering of class coming through in what was quite, I thought it was, bar the soundtrack, was quite engrossing at points. I'd say if maybe not the sort of highest quality throughout, but made for quite an intriguing affair. I don't know if you want to do it right. I know we're going to talk about like a bit of a tour summary. Did you want to talk about anyone else who kind of came through this game, either in the red or in the black?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think we do need to talk about it. So I had one 5-star player.
Oh yeah,
Mikel Guillard.
Yeah,
and then I had plenty of 4-star players. I had Boulgarit, Oridu, Fisher, Brennan, Legarec, Villiers, Fiku.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think
the others, like the other guys, and Tisserand, just because the man played 15 minutes with one arm and was absolutely belting people still. He looked in so much pain when he landed on that line out, and he was absolutely whacking people after that. I think possibly with the injured arm as well on some of them. Like, unbelievable. I think the guys in the back line, like Deporter, Atasogbe, they were fine. Like, they just didn't have that much. Like Villiers, they didn't have that much. Villiers got 4-star, and Fika's got 4-star for their defensive work, not because of anything brilliant in attack. I thought Atasogbe, in the very little space he was given, did some pretty magical things. I think we do need to talk about the guys that were below standard, though, because a lot of those names have kind of, we'll go on to it in our kind of end of tour review, but they were the guys that have done well elsewhere in the series. Firstly, where do you want to start? Who are the knives out for, Richard?
They were knives out. Poor old Leo Barry had like a proper old school shocker, didn't he?
You know what? Watching it back, it's not. If you think of it, the
first half,
on balance, he's all right. Like, it's just
a couple of big errors
that really stand out. Yeah.
A couple of big errors, and he has kind of, I feel like it's developing a little bit of a rep. I think that's why it's like we've seen him do it for Stade Francais as well. His first 10 minutes, he was actually
Leon. What was it? Leo Burr, as in butter for like. But I saw that as a comment for like when he fumbled it for like Butterfingers when he fumbled one for Stade Francais.
Yeah, he actually, his first 10 minutes he was very good cover and a very good up and under. And even the commentators were kind of like, "Oh, he had a bit of a shaky one last week." So I thought after that it wasn't great, and the ball followed him a little bit.
Ball followed him, yeah. I think that's how you'd word it. I don't know how much of it was like a France tactic though, of like it looked very exposed at the back.
Yeah,
one in the backfield, because even Atasogbe dealt with his issues pretty well, but it still looked like they found grass quite a lot.
the try Jordan goes in for, I kind of like Barry was remonstrating quite a lot, and I wonder it looked. I don't know
He's
enough
absolutely
about
miles
defensive.
away from it.
He is, but would you not expect your 10 to be back there somewhere? The gap
or
between
your
him and
9
Sogbe is
sweeping.
so big.
Well, after Sogbe's up in the line, isn't he? And then there's no sweep
There's just
from
nothing.
fullback or scrum half.
Yeah,
it seemed to be. I think because they were going so hard at the breakdown. I wonder if because they went at the breakdown pretty much every ruck. It felt France. So I wonder if it was like a tactic to keep
But
them in the line.
unusual, kind of
feels like
unusual.
too much of a gamble, and it feels like too much of a gamble for it not to be corrected. Like
Yeah.
once you've been burnt by it, and it was like it wasn't an isolated moment. I think surely you hook Barre, which he eventually did on about an hour mark, or you kind of think, we need to change this defensive system slightly.
Yeah, I didn't have too many sort of full knives out in this. I think a few guys were they were fine as we discussed throughout. I don't think they were full shockers. I think
not Demba Bamba.
No, I mean the scrum did wheel a bit, but I actually thought he had a couple of decent carrots. Yeah, but he's not the only one, is he? He's got cooked at the scrum time. But it
was on roller skates, and he gave away 3 penalties, and it just meant that any chance France had of getting back into the game was completely wiped out. I was watching with a mate,
I think they're props,
and he was like, he came on screen. He's like, "Is he renowned as a good scrummager?" And I was like, "No," like just flat out. No, there's no two ways about it. We saw it in the Argentina tour last year, and I know he's had a big injury layoff, but yeah, I think that's. It's not like he wasn't up against, it's not like he's up against like Stephen Kitsoff and Oxenche. George Bauer is a good Super Rugby prop, hasn't played that much at international level. It's not like he's.
Perhaps. Who was packing behind him at that point when he came on?
That would have been Oradu initially, and then Boscherton maybe.
Okay, interesting. Because I was surprised at the rate it went back. He
was a tight head. He's a tight head, isn't he? So it was. It would have been.
But is it in the second row generally?
Yeah. It would have been Roman Talfafneur.
Yeah, it's enough heft there.
That's a decent amount of heft. Who also had a bit of a stinker. He actually played all right, but it's one of those ones like you've got that big moment that just stands out where he gets fended by Geordie Barrett. You could say it's really good play, but to pick off the slightly tired big bloke that hit the ease with which he gets fended. Yeah, well, like half an hour I think by then, but it's just the ease with which he gets fended just doesn't look good for a man that's 20 stone plus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing I will say on Bamba is I kind of forgotten he was on this tour, and his sort of place in the pecking order seems a bit odd.
We'll come on to that, Richard.
Kind of thought they'd moved away from him a little bit, but yeah. Who else do you want to bag while you're here?
Slimani, anonymous. I know there weren't any scrums really in the first half, but
that's always going to be the case. He's such a fine player in his own right, but he's a bit of a relic of a pot prop in that kind of pure play scrummager mould.
Adosio subpar, put himself about, but ultimately gave away a couple of free kicks and pens. So unfortunately for him, he's getting at least one knife.
I thought he was okay. I think I thought he looked like a real weak point before the tour, and I think he's held up okay. Given his kind of lack of experience, and also coming in from a little bit out of nowhere, and he's got a good kind of slightly village Alan Jacobson look to him, which we need more of.
Yeah, agree. That's the end of my knives, I think.
End of tour review.
Anything? You got anything else on that game?
No, not really.
Right, I'm about to send
apart from I felt slightly I was questioning New Zealand's approach ever so slightly when Ardy Surveyor looked to chip and chase off like basically his 5 metre line in the first 20 minutes. Thought, interesting approach, but it worked out for them in the end.
I think just a final word on France's defence, because they did hold the ball up 4 times over the line, and just shout out some of these stats. 275 tackles, which I think I saw is their second most ever.
Really?
And the other one was like years ago. 93% success rate. So Brennan, 26 tackles, 2 missed. Guillard, 24 tackles, 100%. Fisher, 21 and a half, 100%. Fiku, 20, 100%. Boscherton, 17, 100%. Halangahu, 16, 100%. Malaise, 16, 4 missed. Oradu, 15, 100%. It's just... There's
decent effort.
Tisserand, 8, 100%, but...
With one arm.
7 of them with one arm, I reckon.
Yeah.
Right, I'm about to send you a file that
Oh, God.
you can. It's got the depth chart, Richard.
Oh, wow.
If you are watching on YouTube, you'll see these, but I'll do my best not to kind of list through names. If you go to France depth chart, July 2025, Richard.
Oh, access denied.
Oh, you.
Wow, look at this. All right.
Right. So,
Jesus.
my first point is so there's some color coding, but you can see there that so those ones in blue are anyone that is played on this tour. And as you can see, there are very, very few, arguably two positions where someone was first choice on this tour and went into it as first choice. So Guillard did start the last couple of Six Nations games at tight headlock.
Yeah.
And I am going to say that despite the fact he didn't play in the Six Nations, I do still think Gael Fickou is probably first choice
I think
13.
so.
And they have stayed. And then all the other first choice players in the depth chart have remained unchanged.
Yeah.
So while their stock has risen and they've cemented those places down, you haven't had anyone kind of, you've got, partly because a lot of them are Toulouse players, but Gross, Marchand, Antonio, Flamont, Boudon, Cross, Aldrit, Dupont, Lucu, Entamac, Bielbiere, Peno, Ramos. No one's kind of overtaking them. I also think that you can see this. There aren't that many that have played that have kind of cemented themselves as second choice.
Yeah.
I think the second row, so Orido, I thought what he's in the team for, like the set piece, the restarts, he was much tidier than he was in the Six Nations. The line out worked this week. So either him or Josh Brennan is probably the next in line behind Flamont at loose headlock. I don't think they'll try Rumat again.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Maybe.
the centres, or the outside centres, because literally all of them toured. So Deporter is probably now second choice 13, I would say. And Barassi is the little bit of the faller, but you guys like Villiers and Atasogbe were second choice and probably stay second choice, and they come out of this tour pretty well. But I think just before we dive into the actual proper depth chart generally, do you think this tour has changed anything for France going forward?
Not massively, no. I think I agree with that kind of appraisal. I think the one real standout is Guillard, right? But I suppose particularly at 8. And I think they do seem to be quite liking, everyone seems to be quite liking Mayafu off the bench. I can see why. I do genuinely think Guillard's performances, both at lock in the Six Nations and now kind of as the real standout and picked out by kind of all and sundry, including the New Zealand commentators, as the outstanding player in the France side. I genuinely think if they go Flamand, Mayafu, Gaultier loves his boys, doesn't he? But I think he is knocking on the door, or should be in my book, at that 8 jersey with Aldrit. Like, I really think he's been outstanding. I think he is. I think we'd probably both agree that Aldrit hasn't been at his best for a little bit, although there are a few glimmers.
He was kind of an 8 out of 10,
season.
wasn't he, last year? But I think 4
Guillard
years ago,
is
he
now
was a 10 out of 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think Guillard has now sustained such a level in 2 positions that he is, there's an argument that he has to be in your best pack, whether that be in second row or at number 8. And if Aldrit hasn't been quite as, then, I don't think, I definitely see that as an option. I think the quality he sustained. I think there were glimmers that if, depending on how long it takes, they clearly like Le Garrec, don't they? And Lucu had a brilliant second half to the season. I wonder if Dupont is still out, as he probably will be he's
coming back end of November, supposedly.
End of November, so
he won't be there.
Post-autumn internationals, whether Le Garrec might sneak in ahead of Maxime Lucu. Not because I think he's a better player at this point, but they really like him. Hopefully playing at La Rochelle might take him to another level as well. But otherwise, I'm kind of with you. I don't really see... I think maybe it feels a bit harsh, but I think we knew some of these guys that are a little bit interchangeable at 6 and 7. I think, like your...
So
Fishers,
I tried to delineate it as your blindside. They've kind of got a formula of your blindside flanker is your physicality and work rate guy. Your open side is your line out athlete. So
Okay.
like a Julien Bonner back in the day. And then your number 8 is basically your one and only ball. Well, not one and only, but your primary ball carrier. Like think of the work that Guillard got through and the work that
Yeah.
Aldrit typically got through. I've put Boudon at 6 and Cross at 7. They lined up in the other jerseys in the Six Nations, but I would say Cross is your line-out athlete and all-round the park athlete, and Boudon is your physicality and work rate man. But they're very interchangeable. It becomes more apparent when you look down it. And you've got Jegu as your reserve open side, Jelonch as your reserve 6. Like it's the kind of that sort of delineation, I think.
Yeah, and I think some of these guys
like
Fisher
and Fisher is quite nice. Yeah, that's how you would see it. So you've got your work rate guy, your kind of typical flanker with Fisher, and your kind of French style jumping line out man at 7 in Tisserand.
Yeah,
that's kind of how he's.
And I think on this depth chart, like looking at the blind sides, for instance, so Fischer, Boscheton, then below that we've maybe got Nucci, Gazzotti, Castro, Ferrer. I think all of those guys, like maybe they haven't broken through in a French shirt yet. I think all of them have far more ingredients and will offer far more in a French shirt. And I think that as good as like someone like a Fischer was, and he was outstanding, and he's a great pickup for Bayonne, and it's kind of heart and effort and grunt over like game breaking, and maybe that's a slightly kind of harsh analogy, but that's I think we know there's loads of those guys in France and they can mix it physically. Yeah,
you can see there, Rich, that I've done a kind of stock rising, stock falling, and we'll come on to kind of winners and losers, but I've put those guys that you referenced there, the 21-year-olds, Nucci, Gazzotti, Castro Ferreira, is going down, partly because they were all injured and they didn't play. And I think there's a premium on guys, or there's a benefit to guys that have played, I think, in this. You're just getting yourself in the shop window for like a Fischer, a Boscheton. I think Nucci is probably a better player than both of them, but he hasn't played. So he kind of falls down the pecking order. Similarly, kind of other guys elsewhere. So like Gael Drehan, who arguably should have been in this, Romain Buros, who started against the All Blacks in November, but he's fallen down the pecking order. I think he didn't come on tour, so therefore he's not. If some of these Toulouse and Bordeaux players, if Gaultier rated them, he would have called them, because we saw that with Barassi and Deporter and others. But someone like Maxime Lamotte, who lots of people are big fans of, he obviously doesn't think he's that much better than Bourgarit or Barlow. So therefore, Bourgarit and Barlow cement their places as the kind of next cabs off the rank. Similarly, Cyril Cazo, that suggests that, to me, that he's quite far down the pecking order, because they could have called him up if they rated him. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Boscheton, they did call him up, and therefore it's a good sign that Gaultier likes him.
Yeah, you might be right. Just looking at fullback, bottom and falling, Melvin Jaminet.
Well, because he didn't get called up. So
I think he's been pretty much blacklisted, isn't he?
I think we kind of got confirmation, because we had Domon. Well, Tiberian got toured but didn't play because he got injured. Domon got called up. We saw that Gabin Law got called up to the England 15 game. Yeah, so I think Jaminet can kiss goodbye to his French international dreams. You're nothing controversial about the other 15s there. The second choice riser.
Yeah, no, I don't think Atsogbe is controversial at all. I think he's looked.
I think if Ramos plays 10, you now have to play Atsogbe at 15. I think he has to be ahead of Barre, because not just on that one game. He was excellent in that first game, and I think he confirmed what we hoped he might confirm. He looks he's so error-free and classy, and he's just a superstar. Like, he's just way smoother than Barre, I think. Whether he's the right wing, left wing, or fullback, I think he's got to be the next cab off the rank for those three positions. Really.
Well, I think given that Buros hasn't been picked, 'cause I do think he is. I think he's an outstanding player and has had a rank season with injuries, but they're very different profiles, aren't they? And I think Atsogbe is far more rounded. Yeah,
far more
interesting. Because I don't think, because Ntamack and Jalabert have both had operations, haven't they? I don't know how severe they are, but could we be going into the autumn series in a few months? Ramos at 10 again, maybe that opens it up properly for Atsogbe.
Yeah. Do you want to go risers and fallers then?
Well,
we do winners and losers, as we tend to.
Winners and losers. Winners, I think Michael Guillard, we've mentioned him a million times, cemented as a really high quality second row, 8, wherever you want to play him.
Yeah.
Versatile, plaudits from all over the place. But probably my big winner. I think as much as I sort of said that I'm not convinced others won't leap him, I think Alexander Fischer was very good throughout, and particularly in that first test, actually, when it felt very backs to the wall. And I don't think anyone was expecting that much. It was kind of, fairly heroic stuff. I think the other winners would be quite a lot of the guys you haven't toured, to be honest, as you say, people who have not been leapfrogged. Losers, say Barry's gone down the pecking order. And I think, it's about losers, but I do think that, I don't know, someone like a Joris Sigons, just how many chances is he going to get? And there are openings at 10 for fly half, with Entmac's injury problems, always a bit dicey about Jalabert. And I feel like, I don't know, someone that kind of control.
Fantastic injury record either, has he?
No, but he's also got the fact that Gautier doesn't really trust him. So I think there's an opening there, and I don't think even Hastor, you had quite a good game on Saturday. I don't think either of them.
I'd say
really
Hastor as a stock has risen, though. I think that the way he started off a bit shaky, but I think the way he grew into the game management, I quite liked the drop goals, even though he missed the second one. I think that was a good option. I think that suggests to me that he's a kind of can be trusted, I think, to kind of counter your point, or he's going to be trusted certainly more than Sigons, and Birdo didn't get any game time, which doesn't bode well for him. And I thought he might kind of get quite a bit of game time ahead of Sigons in this tour. I'd say my big riser is a player that didn't play, and it's someone like Tavita Tatafu, because I don't think no one grabbed hold of that jersey. The fact that the starter in the two strongest selections is a 36-year-old in Slimani, no one else grabbed it behind him. I think Paul Malez is a winner to kind of come from Pro de Deux.
Went okay, didn't it?
Went okay. Showed that he can play at this level. He wasn't perfect, but he was decent. I actually think, weirdly, Pierre-Louis Barrassi's a bit of a loser in this one.
Yeah.
Not because he played badly, but he only played the one game and got injured. But I think Fiku was so instrumental in this tour that Fiku has to play. Moefana was the best player in the Six Nations.
Probably, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Deporter showed enough in the games that he played that if they need to, they'll go Fiku at 12 and him at 13. And then he obviously has the club combination with Moefana. So I think Barassi drops down. They clearly like Gaetan. I would currently rank him below Barassi in the depth chart, but I do think they like him, which doesn't bode well for Barassi. Again,
yeah, they get him in the 23 as well, don't they?
Plays wing. There's a lot of Toulouse guys. There's a few Toulouse guys that I think it's a bit unfair that they play for Toulouse. They just fall down the pecking order just because they are never available for these. They don't get these opportunities, but there we go. I think my big takeaway is France are struggling at tight head. I think they've got a bit
massively
of an issue at tight head.
I think it's a real problem.
And that's the only glaring hole for me.
Yeah,
it's possibly 10.
Arguably the one position you can't have a hole at going into major international games, isn't it? It's sort of ironic, really. Yeah, we'll see. Anything else on this slightly ill-fated but intriguing France-New Zealand tour?
Hopefully see a stronger side next time round.
Yeah, I think we can both agree with that. A little bit more international rugby, the France under-20s in what I believe was a little bronze medal match. Is that what you call it these days?
Yeah, I guess in a thing with third, fourth place playoff, but they have playoffs for all of them in the under-20s because they're like ranking matches for the next year. So I think it was quite a big deal. I think it was quite a big deal for someone last year that they were in a certain position. Oh yeah, because there was that thing about like the rain off, wasn't there, with Australia and Ireland maybe, and that kind of like scuppered Ireland
when it was in South Africa. Was that the one? Yeah.
So France losing that third, fourth place playoff means they could get quite a tough group next year, I think.
Okay.
And for Argentina, it equals their best ever.
Oh, really?
Their best ever finish in the under-20 championship. And Jamie Lyle was brilliant on commentary, and he rattled off some of the names from that era. And I think there was guys like Del Guy, I think possibly Malia, like that sort of guys that are doing pretty well in the top 14. So. Yeah, so pretty good effort from Argentina. And they Well, you said you'd seen the highlights. I don't know how much of Argentina's tries made the highlights, but I would say they were things of magic and beauty in their own right, because Argentina won this game with what can only be described as a fearsome maul game. It was I can't remember. I definitely can't remember the last time I saw a French team of any kind get beaten up like that at maul time. But it's, the only other game I can think of in recent memory is the kind of La Rochelle away at Bath when they properly turned up with
in
the
the
big
storm.
boys. Yeah, but this was dry conditions, so it's definitely not any soft footing underfoot. But I think, again, Jamie Lyle on commentary said that Argentina had the most maul meters in the tournament, which is not a stat you hear often, maul meters, but genuinely eating up meters with their maul. I think they scored 4 maul tries in the second half, having been like quite a bit down at half time. 21-10 down, I think they were.
Scored a beautiful away from all, lovely little kind of chip. Was that in the second half? Little chip through,
beautiful
gather,
chip.
bit of gas in the 15.
Senejosa, the 15, who
What a lovely name.
I kept sounding like Garbajosa, and I was like, surely this is a mix-up. The goal, so he was doing the goal kicking, old Senejosa, who did score a lovely try and dodged Echegaray at the back. It was a beautifully weighted chip kick for him from Miranda, the fly half. But his goal kicking, Senejosa, is unique. I don't think he's going to be the most consistent. It's kind of like he's kind of falling over on it. Some of the kicks at goal in the first half were genuinely bad. I would back myself to strike a ball slightly cleaner than him. By contrast, Diego Jord finished. He got taken off fairly early on in the second half, but he has managed to never miss a kick at goal for France under-20s. Not just this tournament, including Six Nations. And I remember in the Six Nations he did it, but in this game as well, and I think the game of the week, from the touchline on the side that shouldn't suit the left footer, just slotting them and striking them beautifully. So, that was another area that France and Argentina differed. But generally, I think it's, they got done by the All Blacks because the All Blacks were able to match them physically up front. But this was just different caliber up front. The French line-out struggled quite a bit, but I think that was more to do with there's a couple that went over the top, but no one got in the air. So it's kind of like that's a miscommunication or a mislift, or don't you can pin that all on Liam McCrabb. But I think Jean-Christophe, the starting loosehead, conceded 4 scrum penalties for going straight to deck, which I don't think I've ever seen. He managed to get a warning, and I don't know how he didn't get a yellow card before then, because to concede 4 scrum penalties for basically going straight down on contact doesn't bode well. He was up against a guy called Galvin, who, guess where Galvin, the massive Argentina tight head, has been signed by?
Somewhere in Pro Day.
Somewhere in the top 14 that doesn't really lack massive props, massive individuals.
La Rochelle.
Correct.
Oh, really?
So not content with nicking them from depths of the South Pacific, they're also lining up massive Argentinian beef. He's got quite a set of thighs on him as well, this Galvan. But
superb.
Yeah, so France are beaten up up front, properly beaten up. They couldn't get a foothold in the game at all because the scrum and line-out didn't work either, and the maul, they kind of conceded a lot. The backs, when they did get the ball, there was some brilliant French flair from the likes of
an amazing offload.
The offload
tries
from Calvin Gorge, who I'm not sure. He tried some offloads in the game that were just genuinely bad. You're like, why on earth are you doing that? And that offload for the Thomas Levesque try, which is France's penultimate try, if you want to search out the highlights, the chance of that being a genuinely bad, wasteful offload are very, very high. But he does find him perfectly, and it's basically as his arm hits the floor, that motion helps him offload the ball. It is phenomenal. I reckon he really fancies himself, Calvin Gorge. He's got lovely flowing locks, but he just strikes me as a bloke that, I don't know, I'm trying to think of who the equivalent
confidence.
Like a Mathieu Jalibert, maybe. I think he's probably got quite a lot of similarities with Jalibert as well. Very, very, very talented player and capable of some incredibly flair attacking stuff, but not always the most percentage play. thought Diego Jord was excellent again.
Come
Downavuku
through
was
really well, hasn't it?
captain, got hooked relatively early, but was captain and looked like a real leader. Had definitely looked. I've always said that Downavuku is quite raw, and the raw ingredients are phenomenal. Like with the Fijian bulk, the step, the pace. He kind of allied that with a bit of composure and a bit of control. Stepped in at first receiver, which he looks like he could have the lot really.
So the moral of this really is that La Rochelle's espoirs are going to be unbelievable, and their first team have got some decent lads coming through.
Yeah, Jord is La Rochelle, Downavuku, La Rochelle obviously. We'll come on to him next week, I feel, in more detail in our awards.
And Mr.
Yeah, they've
Galvan.
got some, and Mr. Galvan from Argentina. But yeah, I thought it was classic under-20s where the players have so much talent, but not enough of the there's not enough like cold water on the fire. It's just how can we make this fire burn as quickly and outrageously as possible. There is literally no caution anywhere from either team. But because Argentina played some great stuff. More logs. I thought different Barre, felt differently at number 8 was really good. He looked really dynamic. And Bobby Bisu looked really good. Came on pretty early. Yeah. There was a lovely breakout from France's 22 from Gorge, which was set up, and he found McGurby, the 150 plus kilo tight head prop, who was charging down the flank and even threw a dummy and gained more meters. So the man can shift, which is a terrifying prospect. A 150, 160 kilo tight head prop who plays for Toulouse, who can run and throw a dummy at the age of 18 or whatever is terrifying. Truly, truly terrifying for everyone.
Amazing. Very nice.
So I don't know if you want to chip into this, but I've managed to watch quite a lot of this, of the under 20s. I missed the Argentina game in the group stage, but I am going to try and give 5 names to look out for that aren't the obvious ones. So I'm not including Echegaray, I'm not including Takola, I'm not including Browbury, I'm not including Akrab.
Go on,
Have I missed out any more obvious ones? No, probably not. My first one is Diego Jord. I thought Keller Tawana, the other fly half, looked good when he came on, but I think Jord, he looks to attack. He runs at the line really well. He wriggled through and had a beautiful offload for one of the tries in this game. His kicking is outstanding. Fly half from La Rochelle. I do wonder if he might longer term move to play a bit of fullback as well, just because he has the running game, it would seem. My next name is also going to be a La Rochelle player in Semeli Downavuku, who 20-year-old Fijian origin, his dad moved over to France. I've always been a bit sceptical. He's clearly got it all, but I think I've seen enough in this tournament to see that he could get a lot more game time this season at La Rochelle, and I think he could be a real prospect longer term. I think Dante feels like he's on the slide, and you could get a Dante with bells on if Downavuku goes for the kind of trajectory that he's shown. I'm going to go Mohamed Mbagurbi. The French scrum in the games that I've seen struggled a little bit, but he looked to be at the more solid end of it. The guy can shift. As we mentioned in the first part, the big worry for France is at tight head. And you've got a 20-year-old who plays for Toulouse. I know they've now got Colom and, Malez could play tight head. They've got Merkler, Aldeguiri. But given how much Toulouse, Freudian slip, how much Toulouse rotate during the top 14 season, we might see him get some game time. And I'm really intrigued to see how he steps up to that level. Because when you're that size at under 20s, we've seen it with other players, it can be very easy to be good because it's very hard to be 150, 160 kilos when you're 19 or 20, I'd imagine. Don't know from experience. I never tried. But yeah, I think he's one to look out for just because there's great raw ingredients there. I'm going to go for Bobby Bisu, who didn't start any games, but he looked great off the bench. Really dynamic, physical carrier. I think they said, so he's from Bordeaux. He's 18, back rower, kind of number 8, big ball carrier. I think they said he played rugby league and moved over to Union. Yeah, so he's an interesting player. I thought he was just looks to offload, physical, dynamic, gets around the park. Really nice player. Who have I got a fifth one in me? I will go for Bartholomew Sanson. So he didn't play in this final game, but I thought he was a brilliant line-out forward. You could have gone for Baptiste Brits as well. They're kind of the two more athletic line-out forwards. So Kante Samba and Mezu were kind of the first choice, but I think I guess I could have gone Kante Samba, another La Rochelle player, isn't he? Kante Samba. Mezu is massive, but I don't see that much from him. Bartholomew Sanson, 20-year-old from Lyon, just looks really springy and a really good line-out athlete. Sort of player that Gaultier likes is that kind of real athlete, springy line-out jumper. So you can take your pick of Christophe Kante-Samba, Charles Kante-Samba, and Bartholomew Sanson. So there's your second rows to look out for. Perhaps I've gone a bit highlights reel there with kind of a bit more athletic second rows rather than a tight headlock. But yeah,
very good under-20s correspondence. I cannot profess to have seen a huge amount of this tournament, unfortunately. I think with the Lions as well, it's probably, I don't know, saturated my rugby intake ever so slightly. But very good. Shall we pop back just a sec for the penultimate Petit-Fours of the year?
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, I must say, Rob, this week the Petit-Fours Digestifs. So I haven't seen anything really stand out, but there's been a couple of interesting bits and bobs lurking around on Instagram, not least a couple of interesting trips. The one that stood out most to me was Abraham Papali'i, who's been on holiday in China.
I did see that. Yeah.
A clip of him doing burpees on the Great Wall of China, which I quite enjoyed. A few folks looking at him a little bit what's going on here. But yeah, lots of people visit China, but feels like quite a niche destination for everyone else's Ibiza, Spain.
I think I saw a video of Poe, and it was basically like going quick fire like through the squad, like each player, and a lot of them had Corsica on the list. So if you're in the hunt for a rugby player on holiday, Corsica is probably your best bet. Before we get into stories, I want to just wrap up. Well, before we get into the more Petit-Fours, I want to run through the transfers. Some interesting ones, let's just say. First one, the 2025-2026 season has not even started. It is still in the pre-season stage. But Bayonne, ever the forward planners, have secured the signing of Leo Colli, the scrum half from Montpellier, for the 2026 to 2027 season.
It's a weird old
to me
announcement,
feels so odd, so early. How does he go about that? He's from the region. I think he started at Mont-de-Marsan, so he's from Pyrénées-Atlantiques. But
seems very strange.
How does he navigate the rest of the season there at Montpellier, being like, it just feels odd. Talking of Bayonne, where is Uzer Kassim playing his rugby next season, Richard?
I saw this. He's ended up at Oyonnax, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
After much sort of musical chairs, and
it's
just very
the
odd.
weirdest story. Yeah, so he's out of contract at Bayonne and has played pretty well for Bayonne. Like, he was part of their promotion push. Yeah. He was very good in that. He was very good when they first came up. He then signed a deal with Nice for 2025 to 2026. They announced that signing on the 2nd of July, and almost straight away there seemed to be word that Uzer Kassim was not happy with this and hadn't agreed to anything. But yeah, and then he heard Biarritz were interested, so tried to get out of that contract to Nice and decided he'd rather be at Biarritz. It makes sense if he's Bayonne. At least he doesn't have to move family.
Save a bit on removal fees.
Yeah, save himself 3 weeks without Wi-Fi and hot water when he moves into a new place. But as of this week, I think it was the 19th of July, so about 17 days after his announcement at Nice, he has now announced through quite an ominous, scary video to camera piece going ici, c'est Oyonnax. And it's quite menacing the way he says it, but he will be with Oyonnax in Pro D2 for the 2025-2026 season.
He's definitely not saving any money on removal fees from Bayonne to Oyonnax. That is a decent trek.
And he is potentially Nice or Nissa Rugby, as they are now, are trying to get 200k from both him and Oyonnax.
Wow.
Through the courts. I genuinely don't know how this Nice came.
What a mess.
Some of the stuff, like the way the whole Nice contract has been like talked about, it's as though he was kind of gun to head and was like blindfolded, like, do you sign for this? You have a contract here. Do you sign for this rugby club? And he's got
really
gun to head and he can't see who he's signing for, sort of thing. I had a response on Blue Sky. Apparently he only had 2 days to sign it. He needed help for the French legal part. He had questions over unemployment payments, and then there's a Hong Kong company paying image rights. The answers to any of his questions were only available by WhatsApp, Now,
which part? For the Nice deal?
Yeah, for the Nice deal. So thanks to
God.
Maz for that info. Now, the interesting thing here is that Jean-Baptiste Audiger is the president of Nice, who was previously a director at Biarritz when things started to hit the fan at Biarritz. He's quite
okay.
He's also quite a kind of public.
He's very much. He's sort of like a lower league Altrad /
yeah. Oh, like what's the geezer at Palace? Like like an early years Steve
Parish. Celebrity owner.
But yeah, the interesting about the Hong Kong company paying his image rights is that Jean-Baptiste Audiger is also a former international rugby player, having made one appearance for the Hong Kong national rugby team.
Wow.
So perhaps there really is some truth about the offshore Hong Kong image rights payment thing. But
I mean, fine player it was Kassim, but how much are his image rights? Image rights seem to be.
To be fair, he's first Muslim player to play for the Springboks, so something in that. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I do remember. I don't get it, Rob. You're closer to this sort of financial skullduggery than I've ever been, but I always remember. Well, there you go. There's another club, Nice. I could do with someone to cook the books.
In Audiger, yeah.
There's something to do with it was Biarritz a couple of years ago. They're
under Audiger, presumably.
Their salaries were released, and they were quite like Jonathan Joseph was on something that was not akin to an ex-British Lion and a bit of an England legend, but he had serious image rights built in on top. And image rights seems to be the term that covers all manner of things. It was like, It was the thing. One of the things, wasn't it, at the centre of the Saracen scandal back in the day. Interesting.
A lot of it is legit, from what I know, and that is how they pay a lot of the players, and that a lot of it will be disclosed in cap. But if it's an image rights company possibly based in Hong Kong around the time that Jean-Baptiste Audiger was in charge of Biarritz, then who knows? I have seen another small rumour about Biarritz. They're interested in signing Fritz Lee, which is interesting. I thought he was.
Yes, I saw that. Which I'd kind of quite like, given the way his season ended with that horror injury at the end of last season.
The other big signing news today. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see who Béziers have signed?
No, I didn't.
The son of a former Béziers hooker, and this son has come from Racing's Espoirs.
Oh, it's Dmitry Zarzewski's son.
Hugo Zarzewski. And I
had no idea was at Racing, and then he left at the same time as his dad.
Yeah. He also, what I like about this, so I didn't know Dmitry Zarzewski had played for Béziers.
No.
But I mean, I saw the name and was like, there's got to be a connection here. And then I saw Rotorua Boys, and I was like, surely there is not a guy that plays rugby in New Zealand that has the same name as a French hooker. But he did a year at Rotorua Boys High as kind of as part of his development in New Zealand,
nice.
Which is where Dylan Hartley, Taimana Harrison, and I'm sure some actual New Zealand All Blacks played. And what he does seem to have acquired, not only an immeasurable amount of rugby intel, no doubt, from the New Zealand training ground, but he's also got a very, very nice Maori tattoo across his forearm. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say
obviously, maybe that entitles him to a nice Maori tattoo because he's done a stint at Rotorua Boys.
That's fair enough, given the fairly low bar to entry. I thought you were going to say
more of a connection than many of the population of South Wales. Yeah,
I thought he was going to say his dad's lid is what he's inherited, but
he does have a decent lid. Talking of Waikato, a man that is currently in Waikato, having been at the game in Hamilton on Saturday, did you see who was in the crowd supporting France at the home ground of his former club?
Not sure I did, no.
Well, he's done a bit of policing this year. That might help. He was probably on a bender.
No,
Big Ben Tamifuna was in the crowd at Hamilton with Ben Tapawai. Ben Tapawai's son in one of those lovely purple Ubebe bobble hats. Nice thick beanie. But Big Ben was wearing a France rugby jacket and singing Allez les Bleus, Allez les Bleus. Now, I know what you're thinking, Richard. How does Adidas sell Big Ben-sized jackets? How has he acquired that? Well, he borrowed it off someone. Whose jacket did he acquire? I don't know whether he's stolen it or it's been given to him.
Someone who was on the tour.
not someone that was on the tour.
Big weenie.
Big weenie Antonio. So there was a
Bent
clip
in
of
his
him.
jacket.
There's a clip of Big Ben from the gym at what looks like the Chiefs gym. And it was like, thanks for the sponsorship. And he tagged Weenie Antonio, and it was like, and then he like focused in on the France rugby jacket.
Oh, what a guy.
Big Ben, the gift that keeps him. Yeah, the gift that keeps him.
Such a hero, isn't he?
That's
Incredible.
largely me done.
The only other thing I saw
I've got a few other things, but yeah.
was a momentous couple of days ago. Damien Penaud got married.
Yes, down in Béziers.
Oh, was it? Was that where it was?
Yeah.
So he got married, and the brief flick through, I saw it looked like Thomas Ramos was one of his sort of ushers.
Nice.
I think was there in some
He's
stash.
like best mates with Jalabert, though, isn't he? Surely Jalabert was there.
I don't think Jalabert was.
I was just thinking, I don't think Jalabert's been around. But surely they're like best mates.
Jalabert's still on his private jet, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, I did see what looked like the first dance, and it was to the song from Dirty Dancing. And so I sat through basically 2 minutes of Damien Penaud like plodding around, looking awkward, waiting for the big lift, and he just like picked her up normally. I know that fair play for picking up his wife, but I was expecting the full overhead lift, and at the climatic moment, just a anticlimax.
Maybe get his tooth out instead.
Yeah, maybe he's worried about the tooth.
Well, many congratulations to new Mr. and Mrs. Damien Penaud.
Maxime Machineau has launched a sports performance company. He's got an app to help you. I know, Richard, we're getting into this French rugby stuff now. You're eyeing up a contract in National. So if you want the fast track to become a professional rugby player, I can recommend Performance from.
Do you think there's a fast track to Maxime Machineau's rig? He is in extraordinary shape.
Yeah.
Saw a photo of him as part of his summer holidays the other day. It was like, oh my God, that bloke is like granite.
One player who doesn't need that sort of training program anymore, but he did play. Benjamin Erdepageta played this weekend. Did you see who he played for?
He was back in Buenos Aires, I think.
Club Universitario Buenos Aires. 15 years on from his previous game. Said he was happily surprised at the standard in a top 12 Superior de Urba, which is the elite championship for clubs in Buenos Aires.
Very cool. Did I have anything else? I don't think I have, Rob. I think that's me done.
The only other thing I've got is a little bit of a roundup of the action from the Tour de France. Obviously, we did back in April. Will remember that when I was in Pau, we did the Col du Soulor, which they tackled. They tackled it from the other way. It looked absolutely savage. It was 34-degree heat for the 7.8 kilometers at an average incline of about 8%. We did it in about 12 degrees, I reckon. Stage 14 also started out of Pau. Stage 16 started out of Montpellier today. They are on their way to Valence as well, so taking in quite a few rugby things. But the interesting one was the one that finished in Toulouse. I saw quite a few things in Toulouse. So spray painted on the road in the way into Toulouse was in bright yellow paint, Chez Tonton, the institution, the pastis house in the square down by the river in Toulouse, where the Toulouse team go and celebrate all of their wins. It's where we've seen Joe Takori with a corner flag. It's where we've seen Roman Entamac in a wheelchair with a pint. Good to see them getting involved in the Tour de France. Loved it. Did you see what happened at the finish line in Toulouse when in the sprint finish between two?
I did see someone get nailed into the crowd.
It was in Toulouse. The rugby habits die hard in Toulouse. But yeah, it was a kind of big sprint finish between two guys that I don't think have ever won a stage, and someone decided to try and run on the kind of final stretch. The final thing I did see, and I can't remember where I saw this, but the big climb before Toulouse is called the Pêche David, and there was one French cyclist doing a wheelie in the build-up to tackling the Pêche David on his way to Toulouse. He was obviously having a good time. Maybe he kind of Chez Tonton had got to him early and given him a couple of glasses of pastis, but I thought that was obviously it was French as well. He's a French cyclist just clearly having fun. But yeah, quite something to be doing in the Tour de France, just doing a wheelie before you tackle an enormous climb. But yeah,
very nice.
I've enjoyed the Tour de France this year. It's been good.
Excellent. The final bit from me was it's more of an apology because I meant to try and delve into it. But you see who qualified for the Rugby World Cup 2027? Yes. Zimbabwe, which is amazing. And I meant to have a look through because there must be
Couple of ball-gone breast players. There's 2 ball-gone breast players.
Yeah, but I think a lot of these guys then get released today. So someone like that Manyara, who I don't know if he's GIF qualified, but yeah, maybe in a couple of years' time, it's down in Australia, isn't it? We might see a little bit of top 14 Pro League additional representation in Zimbabwe Cups, which is very cool. The guy who scored the winning try plays for a club in South Korea.
Wow.
There you go.
I was quite like the kit. The one from like when they previously qualified in like 1991 or whatever is glorious. That's a rugby shirt I'd like to get my hands on.
Yeah, very nice. Indeed.
Green and white hoops.
Iconic stuff. Oh yeah, I've just googled that. That really is nice. Out of stock. Shame.
Not quite as impressive as the Zimbabwe 99 Cricket World Cup one that you've got.
I've got, yeah, knocking about. Yeah, maybe I'll be able to find someone to swap it.
Of stash. No, that is one of the great pieces of stash. That 1999 Cricket World Cup Zimbabwe shirt.
Yeah, pretty flammable though.
Yeah.
Right, so
we're on to cricket. We got to wrap up.
We're done. We'll leave it there. Get in touch, rosbiffrugby@gmail.com. Please do get in touch with your tales, travel plans, etc. The National fixtures were released last week as well, which is great news for those looking to expand their French rugby watching horizons. I think it's called Actu Rugby National Instagram account did a great job of summarising them per team, but can't find them all on kind of one slate, as it were, just yet. But that will come out in due course.
Sure, it will be on All Rugby at some point.
Soon. Yeah. So get in touch if you want us to point you in the right direction of some interesting venues. Follow us, like, subscribe, comment, do all of the things that
share.
We want you to do. Share. And I think otherwise, join us next week for episode 50 of Series 2 of Rosbiff Rugby, where we'll be doing the Golden Births. Don't think we've had any advances on that yet, so we're sticking with it. But for now, we'll be back for the seminal, the biggest, most important, salubrious, and most respected unofficial French Rugby Podcast Awards. Anything else to add to that, Rob?
Can't wait.
We will see you then. I think that's it from us. I've been Richard, that's been Rob. We've been the Rugby Podcast. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're grinding out bicep curls or muscling the couch across the living room, crushing morning miles, or sprinting through back-to-back meetings, Smoothie King has fuel to help you maximize your workouts, own your recovery, and elevate your game. Give your body the energy, protein, and power it needs with a lineup of delicious smoothies made to help you conquer your goals. Only at Smoothie King.